How's it rockin', Dween Nation? This is the Dween Sports Podcast. We're about to get underway. But before we do, we'd love if you could like, comment, subscribe, or share. We are posting weekly sports content, and we want to build up the brand that is Dween Sports. Thank you all, and enjoy.
What's up, Dween Nation? This is your host, Justin Paez, and this is our third edition of the March Madness Predictions episode. I mean, this has been a fun thing we've done the last couple of weeks. We're going to keep it going till Selection Sunday happens, and then we'll even do an official one when that comes out, of course. Don't mind this pimple. It is killing me inside. Let's focus on the bracket that is at hand today through the Ken Palm Bracketology analysis. And we're just going to run through the whole bracket like we've been doing. Keep coming, keep watching, drop your thoughts, and let's roll. Let's start at the top. Duke here in the East Conference, or the East Region, playing Southeast Missouri. We'll go with Duke. Obviously, we're being a little chalk there. We shouldn't worry about one seeds for now. I know a couple crazy things in history has happened, but Duke there. Mississippi State and Baylor. I've been on the Baylor train until I saw Mississippi State handle Ole Miss yesterday on the road. So Mississippi State's a scrappy team. Josh Hubbard is amazing, and they're going to move on to play Duke. That'll be a great round 2 matchup. Then we got Ole Miss and McNeese State. And McNeese State, as much there was hype crazy for them last year. This year they're just not as good, not as ferocious. And so I'm going to go with Ole Miss there to get the victory. Michigan and Lipscomb. Michigan has been very solid as of late. They had a big win over Purdue. And so I think that's great. They won a close game on the road against Ohio State. They're in a good spot right now, and they get the victory there. Maryland and Texas, both teams doing fairly well. Texas coming off a huge win against Kentucky, which, I mean, that turns the tide for them. That might just help lock them up a spot in the tournament with this. And then Maryland's on a 3-game win streak, beating Rutgers. Nebraska, who's a possible they're a bubble team right now, and then Iowa. So this one's a tough one to pick through. I'm gonna go with Texas. I know it hurts to say as an Aggie here, but Texas moves on. Then they're gonna play against the winner of Arizona and UNC Greensboro. Arizona lost a close game at home to U of H. The Cougars. I don't count it. I don't think it's a damaging thing on their resume. It's tough. That was a tough game. They lost, but they win here. Louisville and West Virginia. I don't love either of these teams. I don't think they're long for a big playoff run. Man, do I just go what? I guess I'll just go. I'm just going to go with it. Louisville pulling off the victory there. They will play Tennessee in round 2. Let's keep going down the line to the West region. Florida and Norfolk State. We'll go with Florida. UConn and Ohio State. Ohio State lost a close game yesterday, but I was kind of happy with what I saw. I thought there's more to what they can do. Maybe they can make a late run over the next few weeks. While UConn, on the other hand, just lost a massive game to Seton Hall, one of the worst teams in their conference. So that's very damaging to their resume, even though they come off of a win against Creighton. So now we're looking at 2 games that we've seen 2 different UConn Husky teams. I'm going to stick with them, though, to win in this first-round matchup. Then we got Memphis and Yale. Memphis just lost to Wichita State. Massive upset that we just got to see there. So I'm going to go with Yale. I think Yale pulls off the victory in the Ivy League. Wisconsin and Akron. Wisconsin, big win against Purdue yesterday. They're rising up the ranks. They should jump Purdue in the rankings, in my opinion. I was off of them, but now I think I'm back on. I think that was a great victory for them moving forward. Georgia, though, they're absolutely slipping. They just lost by double digits at home to Missouri. Missouri's a great team, but Georgia, if they really want to make something happen, they're not showing it right now. So UCLA gets the victory there, and Georgia also lost double digits to Texas A&M. So they had a tough stretch. They played Texas A&M and Missouri in back-to-back games, but they weren't convincing at all, even in these losses. Texas Tech and Utah Valley. I'm going to go with the Red Raiders. St. Mary's and Vanderbilt. Now this is a very tough game to decide through. Right now in the analysis, we got 14 SEC teams, which is crazy to even think about. Will they really step up and show off to what they're being rated as? Because the SEC is kind of dominating amongst every other rated team. even though they're 500 in conference play. Oh my gosh, what a dumb little stat there. Anyway, St. Mary's and Vanderbilt. Who's going to win this one? I'm going to go with St. Mary's. No, you know what? I'm flipping. I'm going Vanderbilt. St. Mary's, they play a slow um, style of basketball, which means their games, most of these games that they're in are going to be close. And we've seen Vanderbilt in some big games pull off big victories. And so I'll go with them there. Then we got the Aggies. Texas A&M will beat Bryant to move on. That I'm excited to I would see that matchup because that is actually happening within the next couple of weeks. Vanderbilt and Texas A&M. So we'll see how that goes. Auburn and Southern. Obviously, Auburn is the #1 overall team. They beat up Bama on the road. There's nothing really that they can do wrong except a catastrophic collapse. But they are the #1 seed by far, and I have them going through the next round. Gonzaga and New Mexico. New Mexico, man, that's a team that I'm really interested in. Gonzaga obviously has the name value. They've always been up there, and they always win in the first couple of rounds of the tournament. Gosh, that's a tough one right there. I'm gonna go with New Mexico. Go New Mexico here. They both, I think, will fall to Auburn in the next round, but we'll get there when we get there. Marquette and UC San Diego. Marquette, again, as you see, I talked about it last week. They were at the 2 line. They're dropping all the way down to a 5 line. Wow, do I want them, though, the first round? I will. I'll go Marquette to move on. Michigan State and High Point, I'll go with the Spartans to continue through the tournament. Illinois and San Diego State. Illinois has really not been impressive at all as of late. They just lost by double digits to Michigan State. Can they do? I mean, they've been a team too that has just not stepped up in the right points of the tournament. Wow, what do I want to do here? That's a tough one because San Diego State a couple of years ago had a really good run. I wouldn't say their year has been very, very impressive though. So I'm gonna go with Illinois to win there. Kentucky and Jacksonville State. Kentucky, man, they're back and forth of being good and bad. But I have them winning over Jacksonville State here. And then we got Clemson and Nebraska. I'll go with the Clemson Tigers to pull off the victory there. Obviously, last week we were talking about it. I was like mid-show saying, hey, Clemson pulls off the victory over Duke. Like, we're gonna have to start looking at them differently. And of course, that is what happened. Clemson beat Duke at home. So I have them going forward here. U of H and Central Connecticut, not much of a competition there. We'll go with the Cougars to move on, and we'll jump to the next region, the Midwest. Alabama and Merrimack. I'll go with the Crimson Tide. Oregon and Utah State. I'll go with the Ducks, even though they don't incite a lot of confidence in me. St. John's and George Mason. I really hope George Mason doesn't pull this card here because I like George Mason to be a team that can make a run, but they get matched up with a tough team like St. John's. I'm going to have to go with St. John's there. Then Kansas and Arkansas State. Like, see, if you had flipped George Mason and Arkansas State, even though, yeah, you wouldn't be switching a worse team for a better team, but, like, I could see a George Mason beating a Kansas more than a St. John's team, which hurts because I'm going to have to pick Kansas to move on here. And then we got Missouri and Drake, another tough one because I love me some Drake this year, but Missouri is a really, really good basketball team. I'm going to go with Missouri. I'm sorry, Drake. That is unfortunate there. But, yeah, all the Drakes. If you have a Drake in your name, I'm sorry. It's probably been tough for you, especially Mr. Aubrey. Anyway, Iowa State and Northern Colorado. I will go with the Cyclones there. Creighton and Oklahoma. I mean, Creighton's been very impressive in the fact that they don't have, like, their best player on the court, and Pop Isaacs. And OU just really doesn't impress me. I know they're an SEC team, and I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, sorry. I'm going to go with Creighton there, and then I'm going to go with Purdue, which they're going to fall off this 2 line by the next time we get rankings. Losing 2 straight games is not going to cut it at a 2 line, one of which was home. So that's not – they won't be there. I think they'll end up being a 3 seed in the tournament. But as for right now, that's what we're rolling with. Duke and Mississippi State. Something in me wants to do that, but I'm going to go with Duke. Ole Miss and Michigan, I'm going to go with the Wolverines, which I would like that Duke-Michigan matchup. Texas and Arizona, I will go with Arizona. And Tennessee and Louisville, as I mentioned, I'm not a big Louisville fan this year. I'm going with Tennessee to move on. Then we move to the West. We got Florida and UConn. I'm going with Florida. Yale and Wisconsin. I can see an upset on the horizon. I will go with it. Yale will move on to play Florida in the Sweet 16. Then we got UCLA and Texas Tech. I've been on the Texas Tech train, and I will keep doing so for now. They move on. Texas A&M will beat Vanderbilt, which, oh man, that's going to be a great game right there, Texas Tech and Texas A&M. Auburn and New Mexico. I'm going with Auburn. Nothing much in their way in this bracket thus far. Marquette and Michigan State, I will go with the Spartans. Izzo will lead them to another good victory. And, they play High Point and Marquette, and not much of a competition, but now they run into an Auburn, so we'll see how that goes. Kentucky and Illinois, I'm actually going to go with Kentucky, as much as they've really not sold it for me. So, in less sense, Illinois has been not very good either. Clemson and Houston. I mean, Houston could lose this game. That is a game I think there would be a possibility of it. Dang, this is a tough one because Houston's been balling. Their defense is it's a juggernaut of a defense, and I'm gonna go with the Cougars to win there. Alabama and Oregon, Alabama, St. John's and Kansas, St. John's. Kansas is going to continue to slide, though, similar to Purdue in the sense, like, they're not going to be a 4. I think they might end up, by the tournament time, dropping to a 6 or 7. Like, they are just uninspiring, and they're losing these somewhat poor games. And now we got the next game, Mizzou and Iowa State, and I'm going to go with Missouri, actually. I think a 3 gets knocked out there, and Missouri moves on. They've been really impressive. I've loved their basketball. They lost a close game to Texas A&M last week, but they almost had that game. They were in that was a battle, and that's a 2 seed. So Missouri's going to get the victory there. Purdue and Creighton. Give me Creighton. Dropping Purdue out. As I mentioned, Purdue is just not the team that I think that is being shown right now as a 2 seed. So we'll go with Purdue losing there. Duke and Michigan, I'll go with Duke. Arizona and Tennessee, I'm going to go with Arizona to move on and go on to play Duke. Florida and Yale, I will go with Florida. And Texas A&M and Texas Tech, I will go with the Aggies to play Florida. We got SEC head-to-head there. That'll be a really good game to watch. Auburn and Michigan State, I'm going with Auburn. Kentucky and Houston, I will go with Houston. And then Alabama versus St. John's, I'm going with the Crimson Tide. Man, this tournament is not folding out with too many upsets, but this is just how I feel right now, guys. This is not how it's working. Here's the one. We got a 6 and a 7, and I'm going to go with Missouri to beat Creighton, and we got another SEC head-to-head. We'll jump right back up to the top again. Duke and Arizona, I'm going with Duke. Florida and Texas A&M, I'm going to have to go with Florida, unfortunately, for my Aggies. They get stopped there. Auburn and Houston, I'm going with Auburn. That kind of convincing win that you can have against the second best team in the nation in Alabama, you got to give it. You got to give it to Auburn, man. They're on fire. Alabama and Missouri, I'm going with Missouri. Missouri's hot. They got some knockdown shooters. And they have a really good team. I think that Missouri could be a team that can make a run. And they've had some tough losses here and there, but I like Missouri. And we move to the Final Four, which is in the bottom left here. Duke and Florida. Give me Florida. I've had Duke thus far through my 2 predictions, but I'm going with Florida here. And I think it'll be a Florida-Auburn matchup. And the cool story there is obviously recently we saw the number 1 team in Auburn go down to Florida. They lost to Florida at home, and so they most likely won't meet unless they meet in the SEC championship. I think that this would be an awesome game, and I think that Florida would win it. Florida, give me Florida, the Gators. They've been winning a lot of games impressively while being shorthanded. Florida's great. Right now they're on the last 4 seed or the last 1 seed line right there, but I mean they should be right up in there. They're the only team that really took it to Auburn, and so I'm going with them to win this tournament, this bracket. This is 3.0. We got more weeks, which means we're gonna have more predictions. So stay tuned for that. But this was fun. Let me know what you think. And as my brother Jan always says, thanks for watching and peace.